My name is Reverend Shelley Walker. My pronouns are she, her, and it is an absolute blessing, truly a blessing to be here now with you, here in person and online, remembering who we truly are. We're not strangers gathered here by chance. We are expressions of an infinite creative and divine intelligence. We are, in fact, one human family. And that's what we're going to talk about today. That's the title of the talk today, One Human Family. The world right now would have us believe otherwise, I think. Borders, ideologies, histories, and wounds seem to separate us. We scroll through the news and we see division, conflict, abuse, and polarization. For some of us, we look at our families and we see division, conflict, abuse, and polarization. And it's easy to forget that beneath all of that noise, there is one life, one love, one source, one beneficial presence, living and breathing as all creation. So today we return to that truth, the truth of oneness, not as an abstract ideal, but as a living principle. And today we're going to examine what that means for our lives. You know, last week, Reverend Shannon said that our willingness is the whisper that says, there's another way here. Today, I ask, are you willing to consider a new way of being, a new way of walking in the world, a new way of seeing yourself and each other? Are you ready for a new answer to life's questions? The Reverend David Alt said this week, oneness is the answer to everything. And I thought, what does that mean, you brilliant man? And because I am a total geek, I took a deep dive this week into the worlds of philosophy and science and theology and religion because I wanted to explain that oneness to myself in a new way. And because I have all of you here, I'm taking you with me. So let's start with philosophy. The great philosophers have long wrestled with the question, what is the nature of reality? Plato spoke of the world of forms. He taught of an invisible unity behind all appearances. Sound familiar? The Stoics called it the logos, a divine reason permeating all things. Spinoza wrote that God is not separate from creation, but that God, or nature, is the one substance expressing itself through infinite modes. New Thought philosophy builds on this lineage and takes it even a step further. Our philosophy states that there is one mind, one power, one life, expressing as all. Everything we experience, every form, every person, every atom is an individualized expression of that one infinite source. It turns out we are not in competition, we are in cooperation. We are cells in one cosmic body. But here's where philosophy meets challenge, because if there is only one, why do we see so much fragmentation? So much suffering, so much separation. This is where the journey of oneness becomes not just a philosophy, but a practice. And we're going to talk more about that in a minute. But first, let's talk about science. Quantum physics tells us that at the subatomic level, everything is connected. Particles that were once joined remain entangled no matter how far apart they are in space. Rotate one and the other responds instantly. Einstein called this the spooky action at a distance, but mystics call it love. Carl Sagan said, "We are a way for the cosmos to know itself." Dr. Michael Beckwith said, "We are the way the stars look back upon themselves." Modern neuroscience also reveals that empathy, our ability to feel another's joy or pain, is hardwired into our brains. The very same mirror neurons that allow us to understand the feelings of each other are biological evidence that we are not meant to live as isolated units, but as an interconnected web of consciousness. The ecosystem tells us the same story. The breath that you are taking right now comes from trees, and the breath that you are giving feeds them. The water you drink has cycled through the clouds and the mountains and the rivers. Life is a sacred, continual loop of giving and receiving. From the largest galaxies to the tiniest quarks, reality insists on unity. The scientific, philosophical, and spiritual worlds all point to the same truth. We are one. We always have been one. And we are awakening to that realization again and again and again. So now let's turn to religion. In every major spiritual tradition, we find this truth articulated in its own language. In Hinduism, the Upanishads declare, Tat Tvam Asi, thou art that. In Christianity, Paul wrote, in God we live and move and have our being. In Islam, the Quran reminds us, wherever you turn, there is the face of God. In Buddhism, the teaching of interbeing reminds us that nothing exists independently. And in indigenous wisdom, the greeting, Aho Mitakuye means welcome all my relations. Every ancient wisdom teaching points to the same cosmic truth that separation is an illusion and unity is reality. The divine expresses itself as multiplicity, not because it is divided, but because it's creative. Just as one light passes through a prism to reveal the full spectrum of color, so the one spirit passes through the prism of existence to reveal the diversity of life. You are a wavelength of divine light, my love. So is every being. Different frequencies, same light. So let's bring this from the cosmic to the personal, shall we? A student in our advanced consciousness class named Ellie Cole was giving a presentation. She was giving a presentation on oneness this week, our Ellie. And she said that her goal, her practice has been to see oneness in the one mess. They like it as much as I did, Ellie. To see oneness in the one mess. Isn't that brilliant? I don't know about you, but I have been experiencing a good bit of the one mess recently. And it has seemed more difficult for me at times to remember, to look for the divine truth at the heart of this life. I've been seeing the one mess instead of the oneness. Because it's easy to talk about oneness here on Sundays. It's easy to talk about oneness when we're meditating by the ocean or holding a baby or standing in a moment of awe at the mystery of life. But what about when you're cut off in traffic? Or God help you in the middle school car lane? What about when our hearts are broken, and when the world feels like it's too much. You see, this is when the practice actually begins. To see oneness in the one mess means to hold spiritual vision even in the face of the chaos, to look beyond appearances and remember that the same Spirit animates all. And that doesn't mean that we ignore injustice or bypass pain. It means we see through it. We see beyond the behavior to the being. We see through the wound to the wholeness waiting to be made known. We see past our differences to the divine. And this isn't denial. This is revelation. Because once we can acknowledge the Creator at the heart of the creation, we can call it forth. We can demand that it is made more fully manifest in this world. We call love into being, but first we have to remember that the love has been there all along. So how do we do that? I want you to know that I wrote a very wonderful 3-step process for this. And it was really good too. It was alliterative. It was like 3 Ps. Pause, perceive, and proceed. It was solid, I'll tell you. The 3 Ps. But I realized for me, I can't trick myself into grace. How do I find the sacred pause in the midst of the chaos when I am bombarded by the pain of this world? As a sensitive soul, I don't mind admitting to you that this timeline is rough, as the kids say. I have learned that I cannot numb my way to comfort, and I cannot pray my way to peace. I must stand in the truth of this life. I have to listen hard for the voice of truth, and then it's up to me to be love. And the only way that I know how to do this is to raise my consciousness to a higher place and ask for help. We are surrounded by our ancestors, our angels, our helpers, and our guides, and yes, an infinite power that is with us and for us. And you, my friend, are not alone. And help me is a fully formed prayer, just as thank you is. To truly raise our consciousness, we must be willing to access a higher love that is beyond our ken. And we don't simply do that here in our monkey mind or here in our aching heart. We do that in the space beyond. We do that by getting quiet, by admitting that there's something greater happening here, and opening ourselves to the messages that love would have for our lives. This is how life gets easier, better, more kind, more loving. When we take the time to access this place within us, then compassion and forgiveness and generosity become the natural responses to life. Setting a healthy boundary becomes an act of love. And love is not just a moral obligation. It becomes the natural outcome of seeing the truth. To live in oneness is not to withdraw from this world, y'all. It's to engage with it from a higher frequency. We don't fix the world by fighting it. We heal it by embodying oneness and living from that place. So this brings us to something tangible, something happening right here, right now in our community. In addition to our own community families that will be supporting this holiday season, we are gathering food and resources for 40 immigrant families, families we may never meet, families who may not speak our language, families who come from other lands, families who may not share our beliefs or our traditions, and yet we serve them. We serve them all. We serve them because they are us. In the consciousness of oneness, we recognize that what we do for another, we do for the whole. When we feed a child, we feed God. When we comfort a mother, we comfort the divine mother. When we extend our hand to a stranger, we are shaking hands with spirit itself. In metaphysical terms, y'all, giving is not charity, it's circulation. It's life expressing through us, meeting itself in new forms, forms we may not have recognized before. You and I are conduits of an infinite supply that moves wherever there is willingness, as Reverend Shannon taught us last week. This divine source moves where there is willingness, where there is love, where there is recognition that we are indeed one. When we participate in something like feeding 40 families, when we fill our Caring Corner food pantry to overflowing, we're not just filling grocery bags, although that is very important. We're practicing what some spiritual teachers call the law of reflection, that what we send out returns to us multiplied. As we bless those families, we affirm that no one in our one human family goes hungry, unseen, or forgotten. And even if we don't know their names, they are part of our spiritual DNA. They are threads of the same divine tapestry. And you might say, but I don't even know them, Shell. And I say, and that's exactly the point, isn't it? Because love doesn't need to know your name to recognize you. The practice of oneness is to care beyond our comfort zone, to allow compassion to extend where our own comfort ends. And it's one thing to love the people we know, and God knows that can be hard enough. Not you, Michael. It is one thing to love the people we know, and it is divine to love the people that we may never meet. This is how we build the bridge from philosophy to embodiment. This is how we make oneness real, by letting love move through our hands, our choices, and our lives. This is sacred work. Feeding strangers is a spiritual act. It is a declaration that we belong to each other. If you take one thing away with you today, I'm going to ask you to take this: that as we give, we are fed too, because love cannot move through us without leaving a blessing behind. Hear me now. Love can't move through you without leaving a blessing in your life. Let it. Let it. One human family isn't an ideal to achieve, it's a truth to embody. Every act of kindness, every bridge of understanding, every prayer for peace expands our field of unity consciousness. When you forgive, you heal not only yourself, but the collective. When you listen deeply, you restore balance within yourself and also the world. When you love beyond your comfort zone, you are advancing evolution. You are the activity of oneness in motion. And as consciousness shifts, as we know, form follows. consciousness creates conditions. So if we want peace, we must think peacefully. If we want equality, we must perceive equality and work for it. If we want unity, we must embody it. This isn't passive idealism, it is spiritual activism. We transform the world from the inside out, even as we transform ourselves from the inside out. So what does it mean to live as one human family? Well, it means rising above our smallness and our perception of separation. It means acknowledging that there is help on the seen and unseen sides of life, and it's up to us to remember to ask. It means remembering that the stranger is our kin. And it means recognizing that love is eternal. In the end, there is no them. There is only us. The poet Hafiz said, "I am in love with every church, mosque, and temple, and any kind of shrine where the name of love is spoken." When we live like that, we become the living prayer of oneness. In the name of love, we practice oneness. And it doesn't take remembering 3 Ps. It takes willingness to surrender to a higher truth and the courage to act from it. Are you with me?